All right, welcome everyone as I see all the clients flooding in to our bi-weekly update. Today is Groundhog Day. Today is Groundhog Day. So today is Groundhog Day. So today is Groundhog Day. So just so you know, today is Groundhog Day. Anyway, I just wanted to say that we normally take the day off and we celebrate, but today we had to do the bi-weekly webinar. We normally head down to Gobbler's Knob, head down to Harvard, Illinois, where Groundhog Day was filmed, of course, and everybody knows that. It's a national holiday, I believe. However, today we're going to skip that since we have the bi-weekly webinar. We want to make sure we update you guys as well. So thanks for joining us today. I know many are off heading out to see the groundhog, the furry rodent, if you will, which I think in the movie actually bit Bill Murray 3 times, which is quite funny. But today, I'd like to say there's a couple of different items. We'll go big, which is, of course, beginning gratitude. And I think that going big for myself today is just the fact that it's February. And through January, December, a good portion of winter, we can maybe call it the middle of winter, if you will. But as February and we get through this month, we seem to start pushing through to what we think is March and spring. You might actually see some nice weather days here in the state of Wisconsin. So February is a short month. We get through it. It gets bitterly cold, sometimes snows. I'm just grateful that we have winter here, and of course grateful for my family, grateful for all of you as well. How about yourself? How about Kim?
Good morning, everybody. Good to be here with you all. Yes, I was wondering what day it was today, and now I know it's Groundhog's Day. That's fantastic. So my go big is, our kids hit milestones in their lives. I'm really proud of my daughter. She's been really trying very much. And in basketball, it's new for her. She's trying very hard. She made her first bucket in her first game. So kudos to my daughter. I'm really proud of her. She watches these once in a while. So I love you, Adriana. Great job. I'm proud of you. And that's really my go big today is the milestone for my daughter.
Thank you very much. How about Zach?
Thank you, Chris. As always, extremely grateful for the Gentian family that we have. But specifically today, extremely grateful for connections and new connections, and really how important that is. I've been extremely blessed over the last month to connect with a lot of people in areas that I'm passionate about, especially in fitness. And when you start your day at 5 or 5:30 in the morning and you talk to 5 or 10 people in a workout class setting, and being able to connect with people that way, it makes a massive difference, and kind of brought light over the last 2 years with not being able to get in environments like that previously, how important it really is to connect with people and share things that you're passionate about.
Outstanding. Thank you very much, Zach. I appreciate it. So today, as we begin, we'll start with the most important portion of our broadcast today, and that's going to be the housekeeping with Lisa. Now, get on your British filter, because she's about to speak with an accent, and remember, she was home a bit ago. Sometimes she says a few dodgy words.
Thank you, Chris, and good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year and Happy Groundhog's Day, as Chris said. So I know I said Happy New Year and it's already February, but I haven't seen hardly any of you this year yet, so Happy New Year. Lots of things in February going on. The main things, this is the month of love, and apparently Chris thought that because it's a lot of work anniversaries this month. So Peter is celebrating 16 years with Chris. Zach is celebrating 4 years. Ashley is 11 years, and I am 10 years. So I guess Chris likes February as the month of love for doing the hiring. And then on February the 8th, it is our very own Ryan's birthday. And the 9th of February, we have our Gentian virtual winter forum. Now, remember I said virtual. I know normally we do the winter forums in person, but this year we're doing it virtually. So watch out for that and hopefully sign up. And then also we have Angie's work anniversary was in February too. So that's another one of the team members in February. Chris, you must really like this month. So, and again, Valentine's Day is February the 14th. Hope you send everybody who loves some messages and some cards. Our bi-weekly update as of today's, after today's is February the 16th. And we also have our February birthday client lunch club on February the 16th. So hopefully you got that invite and you can sign up for that and we can come celebrate the birthday lunches. Our very own Ryan obviously will be there. Also on the 21st, which is President's Day, the markets and our office will be closed. So be aware of that. And on the 22nd, which is 2/22/22, it is our very own Peter getting married in the Dominican. So big congratulations to Peter and Lindsay. They're a great couple, and we're very excited for them to tie the knot. Also a reminder that the 1099s, the first mail-in is February the 15th. And then the delayed or amended form will be around February the 28th. And then the final mail-in will be March the 15th if there's any other delayed mail-ins of the 1099 tax reports. So you will see some of those if you get them electronically. They'll show up that you've got them in your email. Otherwise, you will get them mailed if that's your preferred way of getting them. But you can always call us and we can always print them and get them sent to you. So that'll be it. So have a great Valentine's month and the month of love. And I'll send it back to you, Christopher.
Thank you. So what I hear is you want no phone calls whatsoever before March 15th about
exactly. Yes, please. Yeah.
So I just wanted to be clear on that as well. So, so some of the topics that are important today, you've heard them all. There's a lot going on in the economy, but I was kind of thinking of long ago. Did you ever used to go to a gas station, like your tire would be a little bit low? Remember air used to be free at a gas station? Now it costs like $2.50. You want to know why? Inflation. So that being one of the topics we've talked about lately is it seems to be apropos. You're finding people going to the grocery store. You're finding people who need to fill tires. Inflation's all around us. So what you look at though is you notice the price of the groceries you bought, and they're expensive. The $50 bag of groceries is maybe $70. You're going to notice a few other things as well. So inflation is never really a gauge where you're going to say, look, here's the price, it's going up. But you see it at the gas station, you see it at the end of the month, and you go, why are we spending, instead of $2,500, we're spending $2,700 for the same stuff. The nice thing is that none of you have been traveling, so you can all afford the inflation that's going on right now. But I'll tell you, once travel comes back again, you're going to start to see some budgets, be a little bit crimped and a little bit pressed. So anyway, something to look out for. But a lot of things that are going on as well. Of course, we had the first 10% correction of the year, which happened in January for the Nasdaq, almost in the S&P. But it's amazing to see the angst that occurs with some people. Now, I got to tell you, thank you. You as clients did not exhibit this angst, but a lot of people out in the market really did. They are not used to corrections because we haven't really had many in the last 12 to 18 months since last year, March. So looking at this was a big issue, I think, that a lot of people had issue with. So the hot issues today, I think you can pick as many as you want because the coronavirus is still buffeting the world across the way, and everybody has their own different opinion on mask, no mask. But what it's done, at least, is put politics kind of in its place right now. I haven't really heard too many words on politics lately, so that's fantastic. It's good to hear. Some of the focus, if you will, is going to be on your health. It's going to be on the fact that today's Groundhog Day. It's going to be on all sorts of hopeful other things rather than just looking at the myopic focus of what's now, because I think people are starting to look beyond it. So don't get me wrong, if it's super important to you, I think that's definitely worth it. If it's not important to you, I understand that as well. But I know it's still on everybody's minds as this pandemic approaches maybe at peak, or maybe it's beyond peak, we're not sure. But I do know more people in the last month or 2 months that have had it or been exposed to it or have it presently than I've ever seen for the entire pandemic. So I'm not sure if that's your experience, but that's what we've been seeing is here. So take care. Use care with people. I think it's super important because people are facing, this is another thing we've noticed, more and more people are facing bigger and bigger issues that they've never faced before. So be careful when you're talking with other people. They do definitely need care now. When it comes to planning, we've had a phenomenal month. It's great. Thank you so much for the introductions to what it is we're doing. We continue to work super hard on your situation, and you continue to provide us with introductions to great people. So I know we're going to thank you for that as well. I think in the beginning of this, I think you've already been thanked, but I want to continue with that as well. Probably the biggest topic I'll talk about today is going to be trust. So I was very fortunate to be in a group yesterday where one of the members of the group is very good friends with Stephen M.R. Covey. You might know Stephen Covey from the book Chicken Soup for the Soul, But this is Stephen M.R. Covey, which is his son, who wrote a book called Smart Trust about 11 years ago or so. Great book, but when you go back to it, he's got a new one coming out. And there's some very interesting things. I'll tell you what, the world has changed in the form with which things are delivered and the speed at which they're delivered, but the function, I mean, what we're really trying to do for people still remains the same. So we'll continue to adapt to that. I'll talk a little bit more about it. But I think if you look today, there's a couple of things when it goes to trust. The world has changed. We're in the fourth industrial revolution. Information. So back 100 years ago, 1900, information used to double every 100 years. So knowledge would double every 100 years. So from 1900 to 2000, information or knowledge doubled. By 1994, Moore's law was well into effect, and information or knowledge doubled about every 18 months. What's interesting today, they're finding that all knowledge in the world doubles every 12 hours. Think about that. Every 12 hours, all the information in the world doubles. There's no way anyone can handle that, but it exists. The nature of work is changing. There's more minds than hands. Think about that. There's now more minds at work than hands. It's a big shift as well. Teamwork is becoming more important. The nature of the workplace has changed. So you're looking at the speed being the primary weapon for trust. And this is going to say the nature of the workforce. This is number 4. The nature of the workforce has changed. Diversity of workforce is massive because they can be anywhere. What they're finding is the greater the difference, the greater potential there is for massive change. So look for the next 5 and 10 years. We're finding birthing right now of the greatest companies in the world 20 years from now. Listen to that again. What times like these do, they birth the incredible great companies 20 years from now. So you're going to find the Googles, the Apples, the Amazons of the next 20 years are being birthed today. We may know what their names are, but typically we don't yet know. So it's a pretty exciting time when you see all the entrepreneurial work going on. Also, the nature of choice, and this is the 5th one, has changed. When 1900s, your parents, our great-grandparents and all had a single choice. I'm going to go get milk. And that's the only place they got it was from this, brown animal or white and black animal called a cow. They had to, get it by hand. It was a dispensary by hand, if you will. That's how they got milk. Then stores came around. There were 4 or 5 choices. There were a few choices, multiple choices for it. Now, there are infinite choices possible in some areas. Again, how does the human mind comprehend this? It's hard to do. So as we go forward, we look at these ideas. As the world has changed dramatically and is changing, you wonder why you might feel angst, because it is different in the form that it's occurring. It's much more rapid pace. It's happening on a very quick basis, but the function of love, trust, the function of all the things that we look at as super important to life, the function is still there. The form with which they're being delivered is different. So that's where change and adaptability comes in. So I just wanted to give you some of that. Those are some fundamental pieces we look at when we lay the foundation for conversations about plans, your family, your life, why your grandchildren and you don't necessarily understand things the same way, because it's being delivered in a completely different form. So these are some of the things we know about families. And when it comes to financial planning decisions in the planet side of the equation, this is definitely part of it. When it comes to the bigger picture too, looking at the live it side of the equation, that definitely exists. And also when it comes to the give it. So it really applies across everything it is we do. I just wanted to share that with you. And I'll give you more as we go through. There's a manuscript that's coming out. We're going to get an advanced read on, but the book will come out sometime in May or June. But I'm going to go back and do something on trust because it's a wonderful, wonderful piece. And it's a foundation for everything we, and the world does. So I'll leave you with that for now. All right. So long, everyone. Have a great weekend. I'm just joking. So I just wanted to bring that up to begin with here. Why don't we start with Zach? Why don't you give us about what's happened in the market, what we should pay attention to? One of the things we noticed this broadcast is for, our job is to say, here's what to pay attention to. Here's the markers to look at, because there's so much information we just talked about. You have no idea what to pay attention to. So we just want to give you the highlights of what we believe you should.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. And a lot of things that you've talked about through Abundance 360 have really come true that you just touched on. Just as an example, in Chicago, a firm is being able to rent out robotics for $8 an hour for a position that they're trying to fill for a human at $15 an hour where they couldn't find anyone. So all those adaptions that you've been talking about for years are really starting to take place, and hear more about them too. On the market side of things, earnings so far, even with the little volatility that we had in the month of January, have been generally better than expected. But really the keys for today is the continued beauty of rebalancing and rebalancing that occurred last year. The best days sometimes follow the worst days, and the faith, patience, and discipline that we continually talk about. So when we go through the markets, we'll go through year-to-date numbers starting from January, the start of January, and then really what's happened in the last 5 days as an example of some of the best days following the worst days. So for the S&P 500, currently minus 4.61 for the year, but in the last 5 days, positive 4.36. The Dow Jones, minus 2.57, but 3.33 in the last 5 days. And just as a reminder that we continually mention is, what does the media generally show us when the market has a temporary down day? Points in the Dow Jones, generally, right? Because it is the biggest number. Almost exactly 10 years ago today, the Dow Jones was at 12,632. So a 2.57% correction as it is today would be roughly 900 points. Today, that's 900 points is only 2.57%. And 10 years ago, that would be a 7%, almost 8% correction. So love to share us with the larger numbers. On the Nasdaq side of things, like Chris mentioned, the Nasdaq is more heavily weighted towards technology, with 49% of it in technology. Currently 8.30, temporarily down on the year, but over 6% gain in the last 5 days alone. The Russell 2000, we still have a disparity between growth and value. The growth side of things, temporarily 12.37% on the year, but 3.8 in the last 5 days. International and emerging markets, temporarily 1.74 on the year to date, temporarily down, and emerging markets 1.24. On the fixed income side of things in the last 2 weeks, slight increases in rates, but not very dramatic. On the 1 year, we're at 0.74%, the 5 year 1.62, the 10 year 1.78%, and the 30 year treasury 2.08%. So interest rates still relatively low, and really just an interesting fact, and we'll touch more on corrections again next week during our winter forum, but almost over the last 80-year time span, a 2% temporary drawdown has happened on average over 14 times per year, or at least 2 times per month. A 3% on average once per month. A 5% temporary drawdown happens on average once per quarter, and a 10% once per year, and a 20% once per market cycle. So a lot of things we're seeing are extremely normal if we look back far enough, but just over the last year and a half, like Chris mentioned earlier as well, we just haven't seen it as recently. With that, I'll hand it back to Chris.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach. And this just in, Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow. That means 6 more weeks of winter, if you believe in furry rodents predicting the weather. At any rate, with furry rodents, I'd like to pass it over to Ken. Ken, I thought you'd totally appreciate that.
Oh my goodness! I don't know if I'm a beaver or what I am, but apparently a furry rodent. But that's okay. So I want to show you everyone a visual for those who are on a desktop or an iPad that can see something. You know, we're talking about volatility right now. So what I want to do here is just take a moment and share a slide that you've seen during our reviews, most likely. And if you haven't seen in a review, you're going to, because it really is a point that we try to make nicely for you guys to really understand that volatility is something that we just have to be okay with if we're going to be an equity investor. It's a tough one. It's not a fun one to go through, but we have to, because what this chart is saying, it's going all the way back to 1980. Great year. I was born in 1980. And what this chart is saying is that throughout the year, you'll see where the markets are down throughout the year, and the gray bar is where they ended up for that year. So what you can see here and what we're trying to demonstrate here is volatility, like Chris is talking about, like Zach is talking about. Here's just a visual piece to really try to capture that concept. And volatility is a very normal thing in this space right here. There's a lot of red dots in that. So throughout the years, throughout the history here to 1980, you're going to see the average intra-year drop, if you will, throughout the year drop is really about 14% on average, as indicated up here by this wonderful JP Morgan slide that we have here. So, this is a fundamental piece of being a great equity investor over time. Just understanding that being down 9% at some point in time, being down at 12% at some point in time is a very normal thing, but it's the patience. It really is the faith, patience, and discipline. If you think about patience, when has patience ever failed you in life? You think about that, usually patience wins out. But then I had one basketball coach say, well, patience, there's one time it failed us. I should have called the timeout.
Hey, Ken, can you get on with it, man? I'm serious. This is going too long.
Yeah, absolutely.
Patience.
So I just wanted to show you that piece there visually. I'm a visual learner, so I appreciate the visual stuff that happens. So there, one more piece, and I'll pass it back over to Chris. And I think Mike may speak here a little bit as well. Just really want to talk about, hearing these stories, and a lot of you are trying to help out younger investors right now. So some of our introductions that you're offering us right now, which we love and appreciate, are on the younger investor side. So and also the retirement side, but some of the younger investors. But what we're seeing right now is the story of how do we go from $10,000 today to, say, $1 million over time. As a younger investor, as a younger person, that seems like a monumental task to achieve. And what's interesting is when I ask you, how did you get to your $1 million, or how did you save the money that you were able to save? And you know what the story started off as? When we were younger, the most we could put away was $25 a month. And that just shows me, starting somewhere is the key to all this, because our professions grow, our income grows, we're in a position to save more over time as well. But just think about that. Back to the Christmas club account days. You remember those days where there were Christmas account clubs at credit unions and things of that nature? That's really where it all started for a lot of you. So it is possible. It just takes some faith, patience, and discipline to get there. So with that being said, I'll pass it back over to Chris.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate it. I was speaking in sign language for a moment there, so I really do appreciate that. One thing I know my wife was recently just talking to me about, and it doesn't have to do with what Ken was saying, but she does have patience with me as well, because as I've gotten older, I've gotten really, really, really good at sleeping. I can do it with my eyes closed. So with that, I want to bring it to Mike. Mike, why don't you tell us what's going on with some of our wholesalers?
Sounds great. Thanks, Chris. So in the last few days, I've been really fortunate and able to meet with 10 of our partners and able to attend the Milwaukee CFA Society dinner last night. And something that I really, really want to touch on is how, the consistent thing that people are talking about is that inflation is here and that it exists, and that the Federal Reserve is going to raise rates. Now, what that number is, they're saying 3 to 4, but it's so interesting how unpredictable the actual market and all of this stuff actually is. When reflecting on some of the topics that I brought to you in the past, talking about how the Fed was just going to taper rates through November of this year, and now all of a sudden we're raising it 3 to 4 times. And even previously before that, we weren't even going to see rate hikes until 2023. So to really kind of put it all together, nobody truly knows what's going to happen. There's always going to be unexplained, unexpected events that are going to cause somebody to have some sort of reaction or response to that. And I think one way to sum it up is yesterday at that CFA Society meeting, and these are some of the smartest women and men in Milwaukee, people who have taken the market as being, they're students of the market. This is what they do. And so at the beginning of each year, they predict where they think the stock market is going to end up. And they give a little gift card away to the person who gets closest to it. So last night, the person who was the very closest to predicting what the S&P 500 was going to do undershot it by about 15%. That's one person who is the closest out of 50 plus people who carry this designation that you have to work and study so hard to get. So it just goes to show that the market is things that happen, they're all unexpected. And the best that we can do is predict, but that's all they are predictions. So nobody has a crystal ball, and we all just need to expect volatility, stay diversified, and enjoy the ride. To you, Chris.
Thank you very much. So what I hear you saying is that we should really trust trained experts, and they know exactly what's going on. So we appreciate that as well. Thanks, Mike. Of course, that's funny is you do see some of the most intelligent people. I've studied experts over time, Mike, and it goes to what you're saying. Even just on the base prediction of the direction of interest rates, they're wrong something like 66% of the time. I've seen data, and it just makes you think. So a long time ago, I started to say nobody can predict the future. Nobody can make predictions, especially when it's about the future. But anyway, so I want to move on just a touch as well and close today. I think we've got about 4 minutes. And I'm out of material, so I'm going to maybe make up some jokes and maybe do a dance routine here. But actually, I wanted to give you something. So Punxsutawney Phil, 1887, it was started in Pennsylvania by a bunch of Dutch settlers. And typically, it goes all the way back to Europe. The thing that they found in Pennsylvania, they didn't have badgers, who used to be much better at predicting the weather than these furry rodents called groundhogs. So strange enough, if you feel like maybe Wisconsin should be in the mix, we are the Badger State. Wisconsin is the Badger. I mean, University of Wisconsin's mascot is the Badger. So I think we probably here in Wisconsin have a little bit more of a tie to Groundhog's Day than the people in Punxsutawney who get all the press and get all the, worldwide fame of the Groundhog Day. So it's kind of interesting here. But at the end of all the story, there's a great thing. They have a society, and it's groundhogs, also known as woodchucks, are one of the key state's most widely distributed animals. And our club members work to protect and perpetuate the legend of the great weather predicting groundhog, Punxsutawney Phil, according to the Punxsutawney Groundhog Club's website. So you can look it up. These are facts that are on their website. It's kind of funny as you go through, but at the end, they do say, weathermen would say, you should look at trained professionals for your weather predictions. Not that they're going to be any more accurate, but I think they're trying to protect their jobs. At any rate, that's kind of fun way that goes to Groundhog Day. When it comes to you and retirement and predicting we run future models, we run a lot of things that go along with it. And the key that we say is we have to have some sort of an assumption of the future, what it might look like with all the variabilities in it as well. So when it comes to the planet side of the equation, it's one of the things we most enjoy. We work to a plan. For those of you who've received our annual letter or about to receive our annual letter coming out this week as well, I should say, you're going to see a lot of the basics for what it is to be a client of us. And I don't say basics, maybe it's going to be the important portions of what it is to be a client of ours. So our thoughts on a consistent basis, how we're going to operate with you, why we do why we do what it is we do as well. So there's a lot of that kind of timeless coming out in this as well. I encourage you to read it, take a look at it. If there's any questions on it, give us a call or respond to it. It's a wonderful piece. We put a lot of work into this as well. So you should see that coming your way. It's a lot of it's timeless, and there's some great timely pieces in this newsletter at the same point in time. So I won't run through a lot there, but I'd say the number one piece we're going to take a look at this year, we had to rethink, and there's a lot of issues that we do that are just normal. We might look at rebalancing. We might look at, buying or selling. You might look at we've rethink and rethought many of the things we do, and some of them we're going to continue to do the same way. But you really need to sometimes take a look and go, would it make sense to do it a different way? And this keeps us on top of everything. You might look at it as arduous, or why would you spend all your time on that? Because when we make a decision for you, we want to make sure we've looked at all angles, all the possibilities, not just what's tried and true. Well, we do that because we've always done it. That can be trouble. So we spent a lot of time this year beating up some of the old things we've done to really make them new again. And that's one of the most important things. So I wanted to just give you that as well. I think as we center one more item for the year 2022, and this is consistent in every year, but it's the word trust. What is trust? What is it the basis for? And the questions that come from that are, do you trust yourself? Do you trust your family? Do you trust your neighbors? Do you trust your company? If you work with a team, do you trust your team? Do you trust your community? Do you trust the company that you work for? Do you trust your nation? There might be different answers to all of those, but it's an important basis. And I think that there's a lot of people have seen a lack of trust in a lot of those institutions, but also in themselves. And coronavirus and the pandemic has brought those up. So we'll investigate those a bit more as we go through, but I want to bring up some of those questions because we know trust is a fundamental issue between us and you. We want to continually perpetuate, hopefully, the trust in us, and we trust you implicitly as well. So the communication lines are super important. I know that's a very important piece to us. So with that, we'll kind of send you off with a note of trust. We appreciate Valentine's Day coming up. Treat somebody well. We look forward to that beautiful Valentine's Day. I know you guys all send us candy and flowers, so if you don't want to this year, that's okay. We normally are just flooded with that stuff here, so we appreciate all the accolades and the fun from you guys as well. But with that, seriously, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Go ahead and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Maybe for us, we want to make sure that you guys, from our entire team here, if you will, stay grateful. I know you guys do. Have a wonderful time. Be compassionate with somebody else. And more importantly, any questions you have, make sure to include us in them and let us know what they are. We'll continue to be available here and just as always, answer those questions. With that, have a great 2 weeks and we'll see you bright and early at 9 o'clock 2 weeks from today. By the way, one last thing. This is the only day in your life, if you write a check or you sign your name, that you'll sign it with a 2, 2, 2, 2. Peter's wedding will be on a 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. 5 twos. That's Yahtzee, by the way. This is 4 twos. So I just wanted to bring that last piece up here. That's probably the most important tidbit you'll get from today, is that write down your date of 2, 2, 22. Super cool. Very important fact. So I'm not sure if you play the lottery or not. I don't encourage it. But if you happen to, maybe 2 should be in the number. With that, signing off. Thank you.